Today, world leaders made it clear their opinions on tariffs vary.
Nobody welcomes tariffs, and we don't want to get into a trade war.
Europe stands united in terms of taking calm and measured responses.
Sometimes you have to take medicine to fix something.
Visiting the Jaguar Land Rover factory in the West Midlands, the Prime Minister hit back at Donald Trump's trade tariffs, not by retaliating but by supporting a sector that's been hit by tariffs 15% higher than the baseline for all other goods from the UK.
Today, we're going to introduce much more flexibility into EV mandates.
EU leaders put their heads together today too and decided that the trading bloc will try talking instead of retaliating with similar measures.
Our goal is certainly not to escalate but to negotiate, so we want to get to negotiations.
The response from the UK and EU leaders is measured, but worldwide there has been some panic. Hong Kong's markets closed with the biggest drop in 28 years, down 13%, while earlier Poland's stock market was suspended altogether. Meanwhile, local businesses have been figuring out how this will affect them.
My name's McAuley and I own Exto Apparel. So we're a clothing business based here in Northern Ireland, and we export all over the world.
Exto broke into US markets, first with 0.5% of sales. Now 10% of their orders are being shipped stateside.
Is it going to put them off ordering in the first place because they don't know, what they're going to get hit with when the parcel lands? That's the last thing you get excited about, receiving an order and then you get hit with extra charges. So it's something that we need to be crystal clear about our marketing and our messaging to make sure that they know what they're getting. But the second and the bigger factor here, and what I see knocking on to not just exporting businesses in Northern Ireland, but all businesses in Northern Ireland, is the bigger brands and bigger kind of exporters to America that are coming from Europe and further afield are getting hit with even bigger tariffs than us, which means our costs are going to get, increase because we're having to pick up the slack from their loss of sales in America.
The situation remains fluid, and although no decisions on reciprocal tariffs were announced today, they could still be in the pipeline.
The average tariff rate in the past few years has been at around 2.55% mark. So this is something that's going to come at a significant cost for Northern Ireland businesses, and we shouldn't just distract from that fact. But certainly in terms of imports, if the EU decides to retaliate, and that seems to be the case, the EU has also already signaled that it's going to reinstate the tariffs which were in place back in the first Trump administration on goods like jeans, Harley-Davidson bikes. Those tariffs could go up to 50%. Northern Ireland, in all likelihood, will have to apply those tariffs.
There are ways for businesses to claw some of those costs back, though.
They're complex processes to work through, but the reimbursement scheme, so that's where you would maybe pay a tariff on its way in, and then subsequently, when you can prove that it's not at risk of entering the EU single market, you can claim that tariff back. The difficulty with that is that the evidentiary burden is really high. It's really difficult for businesses to prove that those goods stayed in Northern Ireland, so we're asking the UK government to look at that.
Some had wondered if UK tariffs being half that of the basic EU rate would mean Northern Ireland is an attractive place for big Irish exporters to do business.
There has to be a material sort of transformation or value add to that product for it to be considered a Northern Ireland manufactured product. But whether that's understood in the US, I'm not so sure. So yes, this whole rules of origin, I think, will be key to a lot of this. Again, if they're dependent on what the eventual differential between the tariff applied to Republic of Ireland goods versus Northern Ireland goods.
For some, the solution to navigating a trade war with the USA could just be to target other countries with their business instead.
We're dealing with a very volatile administration which could easily escalate things very quickly. And so while it may make sense to retaliate in order to gain some sort of leverage in negotiations with Trump, I think countries should also take into consideration the fact that the US is not the only economic superpower. It is not the only trading partner that they have. And that maybe a better solution would be to join up with like-minded countries who value trade and trade liberalization and find ways to trade on a global scale without relying on a trading partner that's become less dependable.
For now, as always, businesses will have to try and keep navigating an ever-changing market with resilience.